What about Mario Balotelli? He's never has any inscription.
No, what I'm saying is this. What I'm saying
recently he's been showing his chest.
No, it could not. But because of the fact that if he throw that thing up, the fans are just watching.
No, not throwing up. I mean, okay, Balotelli
put up. No, Balotelli is one of those. But if what if I have an inscription and the fans?
Look, we are not confusing the inscription. If inscription, it is political. FIFA is against it because we don't want to mix sports and politics together. We don't want to mix religion or religion. So we agree with that. Once you do it, you are given a yellow card.
Yes.
But when there's no inscription, I mean, and even in the Spanish La Liga, we've seen Lionel Messi raise his shirt, happy birthday to his son, or celebrate.
Why are they not giving? Why are they not giving cards?
Is he not giving yellow cards?
But the people said, I'm not talking about any kind of celebration. They are white celebration. Like the Balotelli's own, we saw the way he celebrated that goal. We saw the way he took up the shirt. There are some players who they will just, by the time they go, they just move it up quietly. But some just, the way he pulled up that shirt, because
was violent. The way he pulled up the shirt was violent. All right, let's close that.
It's not like they tell you drive 120, drive 180. You can drive 180 and still be safe. Somebody can drive 110 and still
that FIFA committee, they are clueless gentlemen.
No, the argument will always go on and off. Some people will agree, some will agree with Dumnodi that, look, there should be a control and then this and this, but I'm still worried that even at that, there's still a whole lot of inconsistencies. Some players raise their share, they don't get anything. Some raise it and they get booked. So for me, that's an issue that will go on.
But this strike on target, you hit someone.
Chechele's one, for example, the intent, they told us that it is the intent that allows whether you are credited with the goal or not. Chechele's intent, very clear. Look, Tony, was striking at goal.
If the ball was going towards the corner flag, it's a different thing.
Yeah, it was going direct.
It's a different thing entirely.
The arguments will go on. But for Chechele, well, he thought he had scored 2 goals in the first game for Nigeria. But FIFA says no, you've only scored 1. Well, that's how it is. But let's hope that tomorrow, when we play against Uruguay, we will have, more direct goals that will not have too much of controversies around them. And then these Nigerian guys will get the credit for whatever goals they've been able to score. But gentlemen, we have even talked so much, we've forgotten that we need to update the game currently going on. Brazil are currently playing, and they are a goal up. The last time we came in, they were a goal up against Mexico. And guess who? Of course, I'm sure a lot of you are watching, so there's no need for us to tell you again who scored the goal. It's the man that is the man of the moment, the man everybody's been talking about. And the strike was just as good, if not better, than the one we saw in the first game against Japan. Is Neymar. And what a strike. What fantastic technique. For once, I feel that this guy maybe is overrated. But with strikes like this, I'm not going to get too much support to feel that Neymar is overrated. That was one great technique, and it will stay on in Brazil for a very, very long. It's pure Brazilian delight.
There's a way Brazilians throw up talent that even the whole world we want to worship that talent, that particular thing. It's not the making. Neymar is not a product of the Brazilian media. It's the product of the international media, especially the British media. Because if you look at his rating, of course, people will say, yeah, he's a very fantastic player. But the way we see Neymar outside,
Brazil's best player, the Brazilian media.
Brazil's best player. But the way, because it's just like the way some of us see some of these players. So because we all overrated some of these players, even though the Brazilians will say, yes, he's a very good player. Because, yes, fantastic, wonderful player. But the way, if you look at the media outside Brazil, the way this guy is being rated, everything.
But it started with the Brazilian media because they were the ones that...
They are not as powerful as the British media.
Of course.
The British media could have killed the whole essence of the Neymar thing if they wanted to. But because it's becoming a norm that anytime Brazil produce a particular player, the way they try to manage the image of that particular player, even the international media get caught up in that fever.
We've seen Neymar at so many on so many big games fail to live up. The final of the Interclub,
the World
Cup when they lost 4-0 to Barcelona, it was non-existent. The Olympic Games.
In the final
in London,
it was Mexico.
All through the Olympic Games. I think he scored
he scored a few
goals from the penalty goals. That's not what you expect from the best player in Brazil.
The thing about Brazilian football is that they always depend solely on one star. At every point in time, there's always one key figure, be it a Romario, a Ronaldinho, a Careca, a Zico.
And sometimes they have like 3 or 4 who come together.
There's
like
always
a Rivaldo at the same time, a Ronaldo.
Absolutely, they are lucky that at times they have a generation where they have a lot of good players. But unfortunately, Neymar is the standout player. And for me, I think this Confederations Cup this Confederations Cup tournament is particularly key for him. This is his coming out party. This is when Neymar truly announces himself to the world. For years, he has been a big star in the Brazilian and South American game for Santos, but he has never really stamped himself on the global scene. This is where he comes out, coming on the heels of a reported £50 million transfer to Barcelona, which many people felt was a gamble. But I'm just really curious how he's going to carry the expectations of an entire country on his shoulders ahead of the World Cup. Remember that this next World Cup is being hosted in Brazil. There's tremendous amount of pressure because of that on the Brazilians, on the Brazilian team, and also on Neymar. So for me, living up to to billing so early, it can only bode well for Neymar himself and for Brazil.
All right, okay, so let's see. The game is still on. Brazil against Mexico. Let's see if Neymar still got some goals in that boot and see if it will still produce some magic before the end of 90 minutes. But so far, it's only his goal that has separated Brazil and Mexico in the second game. If it stays this way, Brazil will have won 2 out of 2 and would have booked the place in the semi-finals. The other game that will be taking place later tonight is Italy against Japan. It's also going to be a good game to watch. The Italians, if they can get a win in that one as well, could also be going straight into the semis, and it will mean end of the road for both Mexico and Japan. They will have lost 2 out of 2. If the results of Brazil-Mexico stay the way it is, then it could be end of the road for Mexico. Tomorrow, we'll be back on the pitch. Nigeria will be back on the pitch tomorrow. Nigeria will be taking on Uruguay in the second game of the day. It will be 11 p.m. local Nigerian time, 11 p.m. Nigerian time, and I think that should be about 8 p.m.
7 p.m.
in Brazil.
In Brazil. 4 hours ahead of them.
4 hours ahead. So it will be 11 here, and it will be 8 in 7 o'clock. I beg your pardon. In Brazil.
Salvador.
But then they will be Spain against Haiti, and they will be watching that game, hoping that Haiti do not concede more than 5. So that the goal advantage could still favor us if we are tied on points with Spain at the end of the game. But you can expect that there will be plenty of goals in that game, and I'm sure all of those goals could be in one direction.
I'm expecting that game to probably break the world record for number of goals scored in a FIFA competition, and also the amount of the percentage of possession one team can possibly have in a FIFA competition. But
that game, I mean, that game leads us to the next one. Protest in Brazil. I mean, international media are reporting that game is in danger of not taking place because protest where the game is scheduled to take place is massive, and everybody is going out, and those who are protesting feel that this is the time to do it when the attention of the entire world is on Brazil. This is the time to shout as loud as you can, make the protest as effective as possible, disrupt a few games if possible to make your statement.
That's the beauty of football, and that's the beauty of sport, because sport attracts a lot of people. Attention of the whole world is going to be a particular tournament, whether you like it or not. So they want to use that as an opportunity to vent their grievance against government policy, against government involvement in football matters. Even when the bid was given to Brazil, nobody protested. When they started the project, nobody protested. So at the point in time, they came out because football is one of the biggest. It's even the biggest that can attract anybody at any point in time. Because if anything happens in that stadium, it's going to be the biggest news in the world today. So for the protest, yes, the government is saying yes, we can manage this situation. These people, FIFA said this protest can still go on, and the tournament can go on in spite of the protests and every other thing. We've seen situations where protests even go ahead of a game, and the game still going on smoothly, and of course, even in Turkey today, FIFA Under 20 World Cup, there's still protests.
Everywhere.
So it depends on how well the money is. It's not be as violent as people have thought.
So they check this out. Look at the number.
15,000.
Look at the number.
This is actually the biggest amount of.
Let's allow you to feel a little bit of what happened there, and then we'll talk about it later on.
Não é uma democracia. Nós lutamos contra a ditadura política.
Widespread support in the Brazilian population for the World Cup. I think that's a basic point. There's not widespread opposition to the World Cup or the Confederations Cup in Brazil. Quite the contrary. Now, there may be sectors which are, I again don't know if that word exists in English, are disinformed, that don't have the adequate information about the World Cup. I think the World Cup is most of all an opportunity